On the morning of June 1, 2025, 5 ordinary cargo trucks were driving down highways across Russia. One was near the Arctic Circle. Another was deep in Siberia, over 4,300 kilometers from Ukraine. The drivers thought they were hauling prefabricated wooden houses. They were not. Hidden inside those wooden containers, packed beneath remotely operated rooftops, were 117 armed drones. At roughly the same time, across 5 time zones, those rooftops opened.
And the most devastating covert drone attack in the history of warfare began.
The targets were not random. They were the 5 most important air bases in Russia's long-range strategic bomber fleet. Alenia, near Murmansk in the Arctic North. Belaya, deep in Irkutsk in eastern Siberia. Dyagilevo, near Ryan, south of Moscow.
Ivanovo-Severny, home to Russia's rarest surveillance aircraft. And Ukrainka, in the Amur region near the Chinese border. These bases housed the bombers that had been launching cruise missiles at Ukrainian cities for over 3 years.
295 strategic bombers, 222 M3 long-range missile carriers, and the A-50 airborne early warning aircraft that coordinated Russia's entire air war. Ukraine's security service had spent 18 months planning how to destroy them. The weapon of choice was the cheapest combat drone in existence, first-person view quadcopters costing between $600 and $1,000 each, built from commercially available parts, controlled using ArduPilot, a free open-source autopilot software that any hobbyist can download.
These are the same type of drones used by the thousands every day on the front lines of the war. But Ukraine's security service, the SBU, was about to use them for something no military had ever attempted.
A coordinated strategic strike across an entire continent launched from inside the enemy's own territory.
The logistics were extraordinary. Over the course of months, SBU agents smuggled drones and explosives into Russia. They built custom wooden containers designed to look like prefabricated houses being transported for construction.
Each container held approximately 36 drones and was fitted with a roof that could be opened remotely. The containers were loaded onto rented commercial trucks and driven across Russia by civilian drivers who had no idea what they were carrying.
The trucks were parked near the target air bases. Some were positioned as close as 300 meters from the runway. Then the SBU waited for the right moment. On June 1st, the rooftops opened simultaneously across 5 time zones. 117 drones launched from inside Russia and began flying toward their targets. The pilots were not in the trucks. They were not even in Russia. They were operating from Ukraine, controlling the drones over 4G cellular networks using the Russian phone system itself. The drones flew at extremely low altitude. They launched so close to the air bases that Russian air defenses had almost no time to react. And the SBU had a backup plan. If a drone lost its cellular signal due to Russian electronic jamming, it would automatically switch to an AI-guided autonomous mode, following a pre-programmed route to the target using onboard cameras and artificial intelligence.
The precision was surgical. Ukrainian intelligence had studied these aircraft for months. They used images of decommissioned Soviet bombers on display in Ukrainian museums to train AI systems to recognize the structural weak points of each aircraft type.
Fuel tank locations, engine mounts, wing pylons loaded with cruise missiles. The drone pilots did not just hit the planes, they hit the exact spots that would cause maximum destruction. Video footage released by the SBU shows drones flying directly underneath a Tu-95 bomber's wing and detonating next to a K-101 cruise missile still mounted on the pylon. The resulting fireball confirmed the fuel tanks were full, meaning the bomber had been loaded and ready to strike Ukraine. The damage was catastrophic. According to analysis by Jane's Intelligence, the attack destroyed 12 aircraft and damaged at least 10 more. 7 Tu-95 strategic bombers, 4 Tu-22 M3 long-range bombers, 1 An-12 transport.
2 A-50 airborne early warning aircraft were also hit. Ukrainian President Zelensky stated that 34% of Russia's strategic cruise missile carriers stationed at air bases had been struck. Independent analysts estimated that roughly 20% of Russia's combat-ready long-range bomber fleet was knocked out of service.
The total estimated damage reached $7 billion. The drones that caused it cost less than $1,000 each.
Here is the detail that makes this damage permanent. The Tu-95 bomber first flew in 1952. The Tu-22 M3 entered service in 1978. Neither aircraft has been manufactured since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991.
Russia cannot build replacements. The production lines no longer exist. The factories that made them have been repurposed or closed. The engineers who designed them are retired or dead. Every single one of these bombers that burns is gone forever.
A $1,000 drone eliminated an aircraft that took decades of Soviet industrial capacity to produce and that the Russian Federation has no ability to replace. The strategic shockwave went far beyond the physical damage. Before Operation Spiderweb, Russia believed its rear air bases were untouchable. Belaya is in Siberia, over 4,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. No one expected a threat there. After Spiderweb, Russia was forced to relocate its remaining bomber fleet even further east, deep into the Far East. This means every combat mission now requires the aircraft to fly up to 10,000 additional kilometers round trip. That burns more fuel, accelerates wear on aging airframes, and dramatically increases the logistical cost of every single missile strike. Russian military bloggers called the operation Russia's Pearl Harbor. Operation Spiderweb was planned for 18 months. It was coordinated from inside Russia. It struck 5 air bases across 5 time zones simultaneously. It used 117 drones that cost less than $1,000 each. It destroyed or damaged over 40 aircraft worth an estimated $7 billion. It eliminated bombers that can never be replaced. It was executed using open-source software, commercial cellular networks, and artificial intelligence trained on museum exhibits. And it was carried out by a country that most of the world expected to lose this war in the first 2 weeks. The battlefield has changed, the rules have changed, and the nations still building their militaries around billion-dollar platforms that cannot defend against a $1,000 drone are running out of time to adapt.
What do you think was the most impressive part of this operation? Tell us in the comments.